everyone, my name is Mehdi and this is Designed by Mehdi. So it's been a while since my last video, I think it's been a few months, but I decided to do a new series of videos where I talk to fellow industrial designers. As you can see, I am joined here by my colleagues and my good friends at Misfit Design Studio. If you don't know what Misfit Design Studio is, it is a industrial design consultancy based in Houston, Texas. And we just started about less than a year ago, I believe in December. So I asked my colleagues, my co-workers, my friends to come join me here, and I was going to ask them a bunch of thought-provoking questions about design. So Steven, why don't you start with introducing yourself?
Hi, my name's Steven. I've been working in Misfit for the beginning. I'm one of the four co-founders of this company. We have all been working on trying to build and brand our company into an industrial design solution for Houston only. Tim?
Yeah. I'm Tim Vance, and I'm one of the members of Misfit Design Studio, and everything that Steven said, I second that, considering we're here to create products and develop products and make the world a better place.
And last but not least, Mr. Yasser El-Saman, the CEO of Misfit Design Studio.
Thank you for handing it off mic. Tim, the head designer of Misfit Design Studio. I'm Yasser El-Saman. I'm the CEO, I guess, of Misfit Design Studio, where we try to get our creativity into the world, mainly the Houston market, solve problems, make the world a better place, one design at a time.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for the introductions. Are you guys ready for the thought-provoking questions?
I'm ready to have my thoughts provoked.
All right, that's good. All right, so the first question I have is actually about your background. Tell me a little bit about your background. What do you like about design? What's your area of expertise? What year did you graduate and everything else?
High school.
Yeah, sir.
Yeah, so all my life I've been always interested in how things work and why they work the way they are, and I was intrigued by them. So I grew up with the mindset I'm going to study mechanical engineering, and then as I studied 2 years of mechanical engineering, it didn't have the creativity that my mind requires and wants, so I found industrial design. Since I've been doing industrial design, I've always been thinking of like small problems to solve or much more efficient ways to do things like on my day-to-day basis. And then that led me to University of Houston Industrial Design, graduated class of 2022. I've always had like a business mindset, so I was just finding different ways to implement business into design, and stumbled across the Misfit Design Studio with the team.
Yeah, I've always been into, like the same as Yasser's, figuring out how things work and building things and taking things apart and over again. I've always been into like kind of like, when I was a kid, I was into toys that involved like tinkering, like Legos or record sets or things like that. And going through middle school and high school, I had the idea of wanting to be an engineer because I thought those are the people that make these things. Those are the people that figure out how things work, which in one way is true, but in another, it kind of lacked the creative and artistic side that I wanted to pursue. So I found industrial design and found that that is the perfect marriage of art, creativity, as well as the kind of technical STEM aspect of engineering. I'm a graduate from industrial design from UH, class of 22, as well as the rest of these guys here, and I have not looked back ever since.
Very cool. Steven?
2008 motion picture Iron Man. I just wanted to be just like him as a kid whenever that movie came out, and so I pursued the idea of mechanical engineering. But throughout the whole studies of going through it, I thought that there was no creative process in what I really like to do, because the majority of what I used to do as a kid was actually invent things and create things through sketches and through prototypes, and it would be just little things that would come into inspiration of like difficulties in my life. And so basically copy and paste with whatever Yasser and Tim said. We all just came from engineering backgrounds, and I really like the idea of creating things on my own, introducing it from University of Houston. So yeah.
It really seems like there's a theme with engineers going into industrial design.
Yeah, no, I mean that's basically what we all kind of thought to ourselves. I don't know how you guys came across it, but I just was actually just looking for a random major to go through, and industrial design was the one that hit me the most. So,
well, I found it through a old friend of mine was actually studying architecture at our school, and they told me about the industrial design program, and I'd never heard of industrial design before. I mean, I knew that there, of course, are people out there that create products, but I didn't know that that was its separate discipline in itself, separate from engineering. So, you know, what, 7 years ago now, industrial design was a completely new term to me, and now it's what I live and breathe by.
Yeah, I just wasn't fulfilled with engineering. So every day after class, I would just go search different alternatives. As the semester ended, I was like, okay, I got to decide soon what am I going to like move on to next semester with, because engineering was just, well, I wasn't satisfied with it. So I just did a bunch of Google research, a bunch of YouTube videos about different majors and all that, and stumbled across.
Well, it sounds like I'm the only person who knew wanted to do industrial design. I actually went to a high school counselor when I was in Iran. I'm originally Persian from Iran. And they did a bunch of tests, like career tests, personality tests, and they gave me 3 options for college. One of them was industrial design. I was 9th grade or 10th grade, and then that's when I knew I wanted to be an industrial designer. And I did 2 years of community college, just I take my basics and just be done with them. And then I transferred to University of Houston and started my education with all these guys here. And we've been friends ever since, what, 5.5 years, I think?
Yeah, almost 6 years now.
Before we get into the thought-provoking questions, I'm going to ask you about your least favorite project during school. I can start with my own.
Please.
It was no disrespect to the Houston Furniture Bank, but that was my least favorite project. We had to group up with a bunch of people, and we had to design something for Houston Furniture Bank without really knowing what they needed or what capabilities or capacities they have to adopt our design. And it was during COVID, so everything was online, and man, that was a disaster. That was a disaster. So that was my least favorite project.
I can't say the same. I kind of enjoyed the Houston Furniture Bank project because it was a real problem that we were solving for, and the solution that my team and I came across was it was a good solution. The only thing that I didn't really like is they didn't decide to pursue it, mainly because like the logistics of them setting up their employees to get the project done that we designed, it was just an inconvenience for them, but it would be a good solution if they were to implement it. My least favorite project was a bad project, mainly because we're used to designing products that are functional and still have good form, and it's hard to show function of a product when it's just on a pedestal in an art gallery.
Yeah. So bad project was the collaboration between what was the music called? Blaffer and the architecture college program building, whatever. And they tasked us to design something that we can basically mass manufacture in like a limited scale, and that can be sold at their museum. That was actually one of my favorite projects.
I thought that project was an interesting basis, but unfortunately it was also at the beginning of COVID, so that entire project got scrapped, and all the work that we put in, that we were promised that selected products would be produced and we'd be paid for it to be sold, just kind of went out the window, which again, that came with a lot of things.
Let's dive into the questions. So I guess we kind of answered this question, but what drives your passion for industrial design? Tim, you want to start?
I mean, like I've said this a million times whenever I'm asked that as a question similar to that, is I love the idea of having something that I created that was kind of my brainchild of an idea that I had, and having that be put onto shelves for anybody to be able to buy and use and appreciate, and have that product make their life better in some way, whether it's a physical tangible product or a digital service like an app or a website. It's just something that is improving their quality of life and whatever scale of it, and just being able to know that somebody out there is using a product that I created and they're enjoying it. Yeah, that's my drive in itself, is like that happiness.
Yeah, sure.
Me? Yeah, what was the question? What drives your passion for industrial design? I think it was just the fusion of problem solving and function, aesthetics, all in one. Just doing something new rather than relying on what's been there. Yeah, that drives my passion, I think. Yeah.
Steven, your answer is Iron Man?
Iron Man, yeah. No, it's the itch that needs to be scratched, bro. It's just that sometimes me personally, I just think we're so behind when it comes to our own technology. Is that I feel like we're not really like going forward with projects that need to be used in everyday use. And so I would love to be a part of that community that like comes across a good idea that people can be proud of like having in their own lives. So I think that's personally what I think that drives me.
Yeah, I also like what Tim said. I like creating stuff that people can use, people can feel a difference in their lives. I'm a very human-centered design kind of guy, so I like designing things that interacts directly with humans. As you may know, I have the other startup called Exobrace, which obviously sits on the back and interacts directly with the humans. But I just don't like, I don't know, like there's a lot of really nice looking projects on Behance, but like they're all non-functional, they just look good.
It's blue sky design that they call it.
Blue sky design.
In like a perfect world where nothing else matters. It's a sexy, fun project, but it's not really solving any problems. And I think that's the key for design. It's like it's supposed to solve a problem rather than just be another...
Solve a problem and also make money.
Yes, and of course it needs to look aesthetic and pleasing, but I feel like a lot of designers come to that flaw of putting aesthetics and form ahead of everything else. Like they just design a good-looking product, but not think of anything else that follows that.
So that brings us to the next question, which says, how do you balance form and function in your design? Do you want to start?
I mean, yeah, like it's something that many of us have heard time and time again, is that form always should follow function. In anything that you create, like the function of the design needs to be thorough and sought out and solve a specific problem that you decide. And before you even start with the designing of a project, you need to establish a problem, you need to establish a problem statement and find a group of people with certain problems that you're solving for and create that product, and then the form will come with that, rather than, like I said earlier, that you come up with a cool looking, I don't know, a cool looking hair dryer, but it's hard to hold in the hand, or it's too heavy, or the materials don't really work or make sense for the hair.
Or the internals don't match, they don't fit.
I'm guilty of this. Like I've had an idea for a consumer electronic in my head where I'm like, man, this looks cool, this is good. Like it's gonna fit well in the hand, blah blah blah. And then I see, oh, the battery needs to be this size, the motor needs to be this size. You need to think about the PCB board that needs to be in this orientation, and that completely scraps every idea of what the design should look like, because I have to now think of the function of the design.
So can you answer this question again in the context of the most recent project that we worked on, the camera casing, the camera housing?
With this project, I mean, the same thing that I just said, like we have the internal components that we need to design around, while also keeping in mind the client's deliverables and what they want with the design. And sometimes the deliverables or the requirements that they want aren't lining up with what can possibly be done. That can be through the manufacturing methods or the cost of materials or how the user is going to interact with it. It's just kind of a lot of back and forth going between the client to the designer to the engineer to the manufacturer, and cyclical all over the place, left and right.
I think to add on to it, so I think there was an attachment that was supposed to get attached to it to serve a specific function, but later on the design was well enough to solve that function without changing like the parts included into it.
Yeah, it's something that neither the designer or the client, I guess, thought about whenever it was started, but it's something that you uncovered throughout along the way. Something that you didn't think of, or something that you thought, oh, this actually solves problem A and problem B, and it eliminates the need for this feature.
So the function was it had to get placed here and there. So the form was designed so it can be clipped or mounted here and there.
How do you stay updated with emerging design trends? Do you stay updated with design emerging trends? Yes, sir.
Here and there, I would just like browse through Google, see different design products that are designed aesthetically beautifully. I also saw like a huge generational gap in between the function of the product. Think of it like medical devices. A medical device could be designed back like 20 years ago, and then there's a new design that's currently designed, like technical and also aesthetically very like functional and beautiful. That term has stayed updated, but other than that, like technology, design technology, yes, like additives, 3D printing, different types that can assist us. I stay up to that. But other than that, not really.
How do you stay updated?
Social media, I think that's the best way to stay updated on everything. Just look on different social medias, whether it be Instagram, Twitter, or X, rather, whatever it's called now, YouTube, or Pinterest, or Core 77. Like there is a whole list of different places, but as long as you're on those sites and services and looking at the correct pages, you'll be up to date with all things that you need to know that are industry relevant, of new design trends, new manufacturing trends, new innovations, you name it.
Steven?
TikTok, that's it. That's the only thing I use. It's the only thing that's super helpful, because everybody likes to point out flaws and their insecurities, and most of the designs that people are revealing in their own company, it's always like, oh, it's always this Apple with this new future. They're not doing anything that's innovative. It's always the same Steve Jobs rip. It's just always the same thing. And I think they're the reason why it kind of helps me become a better designer, because they know what they want. That's who we're kind of like aiming towards when we want a better design.
You're talking about people on TikTok now?
Yeah, people on TikTok, because they're always commenting on just the biggest thing, like, oh, this is not the same as my old iPhone. I think it would have been better if it was this way. Just like.
Yeah, I think it's good you see a lot of diverse, like, I guess, direct customer reviews and how real everyday people feel about things, rather than just a published article on a magazine or a blog or something. You're seeing a direct video of some random person in the world saying their honest, unfiltered opinion about things.
For me personally, I do have a niche, as I mentioned, very human factors, human ergonomics centered Class 1 medical devices. I have built a network of people active in this field on LinkedIn. And I check LinkedIn more than I check Instagram and like Facebook and stuff. And I do look at like the new trends, the new designs, the problems people and companies are facing, the new products that companies are releasing into the world. So that's how I stay updated within the human ergonomics field or ecosystem. What's your key design principle or mantra?
Is it form follows function? Form follows function, and I think that varies depending on who the designer is. So us as a consultancy, we're designing for clients. We have to keep the client's idea is going to manufacture the products that we design. So that comes into the business aspect of design, where you have to keep it the price down and all that, and good for them. The price is low is beneficial for them. They're happy. We're happy if we design something that's like sustainable, cost efficient, functional, yet aesthetically pleasing too. So the form follows on function, yet cost efficiency.
Actually, now I have a new mantra. Money follows form follows function. There we go. Form follows money. No, that's not going to work out. Function, no, it's going to be money first for the business.
Function follows money.
Then form, I think, for the end user. Well, depending on your market actually, and then function.
I think function follows money, and then form follows it all.
I think it depends on like the
because you might limit the function of the product to make it hit that like the client's budget. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna have to make it like the form, enclose it, the enclosure basically around all that.
Right. Yeah.
It's just money is the buy all and all.
It's the difference between like a concept designer versus a real world designer. Like us as a consultancy, we're dealing with real world clients rather than a designer who has freedom to design whatever they want and put it out there. It's the cost is gonna get crazy.
I think my mantra is as simple as just make a difference. I think that is just the basis of anything that you should be doing, no matter what discipline you're in, but most specifically in design, is like make a difference with what you're doing, make an impact on the product that you're creating. You don't want your product to blend into the ocean of thousands of useless products that are just saturating the market. Whatever you create, whatever you're doing, you want it to serve a good purpose and make a difference in the market's life, in the user's life, in the retailer's life, or in just anything. It should be making a difference in some way or form.
Please do it.
Adapt or die. I always liked it.
I think a lot of that flying cars, I think the technology might be there. It's just government restrictions and
money.
Not money, yeah.
Money too. And from my perspective, a lot of the government things usually doesn't adapt as fast, mainly because they're the ones in control, so they can control how fast they need to adapt or not.
What excites you most about the future of industrial design, Steven?
I think introducing, because like a lot of it's kind of funny to me, because not a lot of people know about industrial design. Whenever we introduce ourselves and they ask, "What do you do?" "Oh, I'm an industrial designer." "Huh? So you do buildings, right?" "No, we don't do buildings. We design products. Everything you use, where you sit, where you sleep, where you eat. It's just like it's everything, and that's all it's very to explain about. But I really hope one day we can go out of our way and just tell people who we are, and they'll just finally recognize what we do.
Yeah, adding on that, I think it's having industrial design become more of a mainstream, everyday word or term that people are more aware of. Industrial design, I don't think that term was coined until the late 1800s, and that's whenever people actually started like paying attention to making products for specific reasons and functions and the forms and the functions and cost and manufacturing. And before that, we were just making them just to solve a problem, and that's it, without really much going into thought. But in the past half a century or so, I think industrial design has definitely taken off exponentially in how widely it's known or how widely it's used and how many things and areas that it could be implemented in. And I can only imagine where we can be in the next 50 years.
I think there's this one quote that says, do something today that'll make tomorrow better. And that's what I'm excited about the future of industrial design. I think as it starts to get widely practiced or implemented into our day-to-day life, I think our lives will be better, easier, more efficient, more relaxed. And that's what I'm excited for, because I think a lot of the stuff that we interact with on a day-to-day basis is industrial design isn't included into it as much as it should be. So I think as that grows, the life will be better.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, for me, honestly, it's not really purely about industrial design. It's just about making a difference in people's lives. Today I was talking to an influential person in the exoskeleton field, and she said, I like your approach because you're coming from an industrial design, product design background instead of like a biomedical engineering or like a medical professor kind of thing. Because you would have a different approach. You would, design something for the end user. You keep the end user in mind rather than just design something that just works, which usually doesn't go anywhere in the market. Go to my Instagram. I did post a video on the ExoBrace page. The user is putting on the exoskeleton and he's trying it on for like the first time, and he goes like, "Wow, this is nice" or something like that. He just makes him smile. I like to see that smile. I like to see that my design is actually doing something.
Yeah, having that human connection is really positive and motivational to keep doing what you're doing. Like directly seeing how it's impacting somebody's lives and seeing like their complete reactions rather than just kind of designing or creating something in a vacuum without having any real world feedback, but being able to interact directly with these test subjects and clients and consumers and seeing how it is helping them. That's super good.
What would be one advice if you could give yourself 4 or 5 years ago when you started college? You want to start? No, okay.
I mean, I'll say just be better and don't be complacent. Like,
be better, don't be complacent.
Yeah, if you think you're doing a good job, you're not doing a good job. You could always be doing better than what you are. If you think that you're of the highest caliber, you're one of the best designers, or you have higher skills, don't let that get to your head, and don't think that, I'm good enough and like everything is going to fall into place. No, you can always be better. You can always push for more, and there's always going to be others out there that are way better than you, and you just have to accept that, but also don't give into that. Like, use that as motivation to kind of get better than what you are now. 5 years ago, I will say I was a lot more cocky and arrogant of a designer, being like a freshman or sophomore in design school, kind of looking around and being like, this is in the bag, this is so easy. And now I'm just kind of looking at the real world and seeing how it actually is in the design world, and knowing that I have nothing on compared to a lot of the designers out there, and it's just, you got to keep pushing and keep trying, and again, don't be complacent to that.
Anything?
Adding on to what Tim said, and be like never satisfied, always hungry, and be like a sponge. Like, look at what's around you and just soak it up to your benefit, to implement it in what you're designing or your next concept that you have in the back corner. So just soak up as much information as you can and never be satisfied. Just keep pushing and keep raising the bar, basically. And if you feel like you've done it, just keep doing it. There's something inside. Just keep working on it, and you'll keep getting somewhere.
Steven?
Relax. Just take it slow. Not everything's going to be taken too seriously, but at the end of the day, your mental health is better than anything else. Just be sure to not. Don't take it too hard whatever anybody says. Just keep going through every stage of this project, and
I definitely second that. I think, personally speaking, I did work too hard when I was in college, and I kind of regret working that hard when I was in college. I wish I could just take it easy a little bit,
Mine feels like I missed out a lot just because I was just taking work in school too too seriously.
Yeah.
I think I also like third that. I say take it one day at a time, but give that day your most.
Yeah.
Like do as much as you can.
Of course. Well, thank you very much, everyone. It was great talking to you all. I enjoyed talking to my friends and my colleagues. We're going to do the second part in a second, but let's just end this episode with a positive note. We all had fun. I hope you guys learned something. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys for the next part, for the second episode. Bye.